Hello, hello. Welcome back to our signature segment, See the Stories. Now, like what Sarah was just mentioning, do you feel like you're sometimes overweight? Sometimes. I say sometimes,
Almost
right?
all the time for us women here, Rangga.
But you don't feel like following the diet trends that are happening at the moment.
Yes.
You feel that too?
All the time.
All the time? Man, I feel sorry for you.
I know. For us women here, remember, we always need to lose weight.
You have to have something, right?
Yes.
You got to have something. Well, now there's a new method to lose weight without following not too strict diet rules. It's called intuitive eating.
Oh, I love the not too strict part.
Exactly, we like that.
Yes, and today we'll be discussing more about what intuitive eating is and how it can improve our health with our guest, holistic health coach Thaliah Putri.
Hi.
Hello, welcome back, Thaliah.
Welcome back. So I missed the first one.
Yes, so we met together, it was early morning, and now you're here for the afternoon show.
I
back
see,
here.
I see. Welcome then, welcome back.
So yes, now Rangga, as you mentioned before, intuitive eating. So what is it the same
Right.
as mindful eating? Because we've been hearing mindful eating for quite some
Yes.
time.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so I think when we talk about intuitive eating, it's basically just an eating framework that focuses on honoring your hunger cues, your satisfaction cues, and also your fullness cues. And mindful eating is actually a part of intuitive eating. So mindful eating is when the act of eating itself. So sometimes when we eat, we tend to play with our phones or we watch
See, we talked about
TV,
this too.
and then sometimes when we practice those mindfulness in eating, we need to actually take off all the distractions. So then when you do be present in our food and the things that we eat, we know if we're full, if we're still hungry, if we actually like our food, if we actually feel like, is this food aligns with me or not.
Yes.
So that's the practice of intuitive eating and also mindful eating. So it's connected. It's a part of each other.
Okay, so it's like when you're working out, like, you know, there's always this saying, focus, so there's going to be mind and
muscle.
muscle connection.
Yes.
So is it something similar to that
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you're
yeah.
eating
Like,
too?
I think in today's industry, there's a lot of disconnections, right? Especially when we're eating.
True, right.
Like we tend to be on our phones or just
yes.
a robot, like just like eating and just not even seeing, like asking ourselves, do we actually like the food that we're eating?
Right, right.
Is it
right.
aligned with our body and nutritious needs? Sometimes we just feel like we're eating just to survive. And so when we do intuitive eating, it's more not just about eating nutritious food, but it's also about honoring those cues. Like, are we hungry? Are we full? Does it align with our values and our needs? So that's what intuitive eating really means.
This is also interesting because especially in the very busy and fast-paced environment, probably when we are working,
Yeah.
we tend to have our lunch on our desk, right?
Yeah.
While
Right.
we're probably while during a meeting as well.
Exactly.
What implications or what effect does it have when we do not solely focus on our food, especially for
Yes, yes.
people working in big cities, Thaliah?
Yeah, I think the first step is when you don't know what you're eating, you don't know if this is actually aligned with your body or not. And so once we tend to disconnect with that, we don't really know that, okay, if I do want to lose weight, let's say like your goal is to lose weight, you don't even know that if this has effect like bloating, or does this make me feel energized? Does it make me feel depleted? Like, for example, if you have this routine where you don't eat breakfast and you just chug coffee every day in the
Right.
morning, and you don't really recognize that as a pattern, I think it's when you're not mindful about that, it can make you feel like just like a basic routine, like a robot, right? And so you tend to just forget that food is not just, a tool to lose weight, but it's also, a lifestyle, and it's your number one medicine before, the doctor, before pills. Just, I think remembering that food is medicine is the number one thing to start intuitive eating.
Wow, okay. Very well noted that when you eat, you really have just to focus on what's in front of you.
Yeah.
No watching, no playing with your gadgets, your phones, and like that.
Yeah. I mean, focusing on also the sensory experience, right? The taste, how it smells, how it tastes. Do you like it? Do you not like it?
Right.
Oh, this reminds me of actually putting my toddler on his high chair to eat his meal.
Maybe you need to be put in high chair too.
Yes, guilty as charged, yes, and really have to focus on what I eat here.
Exactly, very, very true. Now, I think I read this somewhere, but I can't really remember at the moment. Maybe you can clarify this for me. In order for our mind and body, maybe mind, to feel full, it takes about 20 or so minutes. Is that?
Yeah,
somewhere?
sometimes like when we're just in this fast-paced environment, we're just like get
Right,
and go,
okay.
you know, like oh, just order, get, go, and just
And then just
take
get back
it.
to the
Yeah,
next
and you
one,
know,
so,
you
okay.
even recognize that if you're still hungry or not, if you still need more food.
So that also can be connected
yeah.
into this intuitive eating
Yeah.
method. Okay, so I think the next one is the one that everybody's really trying to
Okay.
get to the bottom of it. Is this part of a diet plan or method?
Yeah, so I think if we talk about diet as in weight loss, the main goal of intuitive eating is not actually weight loss. So it's actually rejecting the idea that your weight is how much you're worth it. That's the idea that intuitive eating wants to reject, right? But once we start practicing intuitive eating, once we become more aware of our needs, our food, your body kind of balances out your hormones, your metabolism. So it does promote like a sustainable weight loss. And because it also prevents binging and also restrictive diet. So that's what often diet triggers the most, right? When you're in a really restrictive diet, you tend to like binge and then
Yes.
you restrict. So
Right.
yeah, and so with intuitive eating, when we reject those kind of mentalities, so it does promote like a long-term weight loss, if that's your goal.
And then, of course, as you mentioned, intuitive is listening to your needs, your body's
Yes.
needs. How can one listen to what their body needs, especially when they have, spent their whole lives
Yeah.
not being unable to
Yeah.
listen to what their body
Yeah.
needs, but what they want?
Yeah, I love this question. So I think when it comes to eating, first is honoring your hunger cue. So there's actually different types of hungers. So first is the most well-known. It's physical hunger. So we feel in our stomach.
Yeah.
This is the most basic.
Right.
Second is practical hunger. So for example, you might not feel hungry now, but you will later in the future. So for example, you want to work out, you eat a pre-workout so that you won't feel depleted. The third is emotional hunger or emotional eating, as people say. So that's when we're feeling stressed or sad, we eat a cookie, we eat a chocolate. We want to have that coping mechanism through food. And the last is taste hunger. So for example, after salty food, we want to eat something sweet.
Yep.
That's taste.
Right.
And so when you notice what hunger type you have and honoring them, that's the first step. And second is the best tool to know what you need and what you're aware of is actually through food journaling, a very simple method. So instead of just tracking what you eat, also track how you feel before, during, and after your meal. And when we do consistent food journaling, we can see a pattern. Like, for example, on days where I don't have breakfast and only coffee, at 2 p.m. I have no energy left. Like once you have consistent food journal, like for example, maybe if I have raw salad, I don't think that's the best type for me because I feel really bloated. So yeah, I think the first step and the easy step is to do food journaling.
Okay.
Okay, so is that also, it could be considered as the first step into intuitive eating? I mean, if you want to start something, I think it's, in my experience, I think journaling of what you're eating, actually, that's actually a good start. Can we do that?
Definitely, and I think it's applicable for everyone. You don't need expensive tools. You can use it in your phone, iPad, notes, anything. Yeah.
How long can one keep this journal for someone to actually realize there's a pattern? Is there a target time for one to keep the journal?
I think like a minimum of like 1 or 3 months is really nice, especially if you do consistently. And if you try also different types of foods and diets during that 3 months, it can also be like a good, trial and error to see what kind of food works best for you.
Okay. Now, speaking of weight management, can this help with weight management?
In the long run, yes, because it does stabilize your body, and it does not promote binging and restrictive dieting, right? So which often dieting triggers. So yes, it does promote weight management.
Okay, so hold on, Sarah. I know you're very, very eager to ask the next one.
I'm just a toddler on a high chair. I'm just
I was about to say that. Let me
Looking
get
back.
you a high chair soon so you can calm down a little bit. I just lost my train of thoughts now. So there's when we eat, we tend to kind of focus more on the macros and all that.
Yeah.
So with this, you don't really have that.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah. So intuitive eating, it's not more about just calorie counting because the idea is you want to reject dieting culture. Right? You want to reject that, calories is all that matters. Your weight is all that matters. So in intuitive eating, we don't count calories.
Nothing like that. You
Yeah.
just have to be very focused back.
Yeah, and I think just like following simple nutrition guidelines, like getting enough protein, carbs, fibers, and fats. And then when you start there, and then once you start to, be present during meal times, you can kind of get the idea, like, does this food make you feel good? Am I full? And if I'm not full, what do I need to add? Do I need to add more carbs, protein, or fiber? So there are a lot of ways to weight loss than just calorie counting. Right. It's one of the tools, but if it doesn't align with you, intuitive eating is also a good way to go.
And how many times can when they're transitioning to intuitive eating and making it part of their diet and their lifestyle, how many times do you say it's a healthy number for them to eat? Because sometimes they say, okay, there's also snack time in between the lunches, also breakfast, or is there like a specific time for us to actually to listen to our bodies? For example, okay, I had breakfast and then at 9 or 10 a.m. I'm already hungry. Is that like a sign for us to eat, or is it just like a transition period, or
so
how do we know the sound is actually healthy?
Yeah, so I think going back to the principle of honoring those cues and also knowing what type of hunger it is, right? So is it really, are you physically hungry, or sometimes like we're bored and we want to eat?
Hello.
Sometimes I'm guilty as charged, so I think we all are. So just like, and also knowing if it's not a physical hunger, but you still need to honor them, right? But how do we honor them? Like food doesn't always have to be your number one coping mechanism. So when we are, emotional hunger or we're just like bored, how do we find ways to cope with that emotions rather than just through food? Do we exercise? Do we meditate? Do we journal? Do we do deep breaths? Do we talk to somebody about it? So I think going back to the principle of just knowing what you feel and honoring it without judgment, but with curiosity, oh, what type of hunger is, am I really hungry, or am I bored, or am I stressed, or
That's
and
right.
no judgment here.
No judgment,
So
that's
with,
why.
with compassion.
Yes, and of course, that's why journaling is very important, because you can look back.
Yeah, see, oh, okay, like at this hour I usually feel really stressed out, and then I eat this.
Okay, good. Now you mentioned something about exercise. How can someone combine this intuitive eating with exercising?
Yeah, I think just basic, healthy lifestyle is that when you exercise with intuitive eating, it's a great combination. The same principle as well with exercising, so just choosing exercise that makes you feel good and energized versus just going to exercise for the point of, weight loss and trying to stay fit. So not just focusing on what you look like from the outside, but also how you feel on the inside as well.
So once again, it's a very holistic approach.
Yes.
Okay. This is very interesting, and I would like to also know more, especially if we have a history of eating disorder or probably health-related issues, which of course needs a certain kind of diet and also, meal routine. But I think we will be taking a break first, and then we'll find out more right after the break here on See the Stories.